And we're live, John Plumstead with the Virtual Real Estate Investing Podcast here with my good friend, Frank Scappaticci. And we've got a guest today, don't we, Frank?
We do. We have Dan Schwartz, one of our mentors over the last year, and the leader of the 80/20 Investor Academy. So we're super pumped. Definitely the biggest guest we've had in our infancy, for sure. So we got a celebrity on our hands today.
Cheers,
How you
fellas.
doing today, Dan? Yeah,
I'm doing awesome. I'll take that micro celebrity level status.
Hey, you definitely have meant a ton to our business and our success. And there's a reason we brought you on as not only our biggest guest, but also our first guest, right? The podcasts up to this point have just been me and Frank. And we wanted to give you the old tip of the hat and say, hey, Dan, I know we're not an established podcast, but we owe you a ton. And I think it makes sense to bring you on as like this first interview to say, hey, we want you to help as many people as possible.
I appreciate that sentiment. And you guys, like right back at you, you guys started this business from nothing, like just under a year ago, literally like last April. And to see how far you guys have came, I think is just a testament to you guys and your dedication, your commitment, your discipline. What are your 3 core values again? It's grit, hustle.
Character, grit, and hustle.
Character, grit, hustle. I think you also came into this business with a fresh, open mind, and you didn't have any baggage of the burnout and headache that most investors experience. And I think people can learn a lot from that. So I'm excited to dig into it and kick this podcast off with you guys. Excellent.
We're excited as well. And instead of going back to the roots, let's start off right off the bat with what you're doing now, which we know is the awesome 80/20 Academy. Can you tell us all about the Academy, Dan?
Well, right now I'm moving into my new apartment actually here in Austin. And I just screwed that shelf in right now, right there. I'm really proud of it. Looks really solid, huh? So I can have a legit background. And now I can finally get back into it now that I'm done moving, finally figure that situation out. And right now my full focus is going deep into the 80/20 Investor Academy, which is a online community and training for real estate investors that want to take their existing established business to $1 million+ in revenue and working at least half the amount of time that they currently are working. And we do this through a principle called the 80/20 principle. I'm not wearing my 80/20 shirt like I usually do, but 80/20 principle is the mental model and philosophy for making decisions that I essentially inform all of the investing strategies that we teach. And it's 100 people big now. I started it kind of just on the side while growing Investor Fuse, which you may be familiar with, the lead conversion system for real estate teams. And on the side, this group kind of started forming, and it turns out I wasn't the only one that was really into the 80/20 principle and applying it to your real estate business execution. And it's grown to, I think we just signed up like our 100th company in the Academy, and it's just turned into this amazing community of people that are not just in it to do deals, but to build a business that does deals, and ideally a business that doesn't suck the life out of them. And that's something that I'm also passionate about, because I've been on that side of the equation too. And I want to show people how to get to that other side. And it's just really just shifting strategies. And that is exactly what our program is all about. And it's my full focus at this point. Pretty cool.
Excellent. So first off, congrats on 100 members. That's incredible. Talking to these 100 people or these 100 companies, what does the average company or individual come in with? And then where are they 6 months, 12 months later? Like what are those big rocks that you see changing in those businesses?
Yeah, so majority of investors that come in are solopreneurs, where if they took 2 weeks off, their business would just come to a grinding halt, right? They know how to do deals. They might have had some trauma from past hires, VAs that didn't quite work out, maybe a lead manager they brought on that didn't quite work out. So they're back to being a solopreneur. They're able to do deals, but it's super like up and down, roller coastery, not constant at all. And within 6 months, just like you guys even sooner than that, within 3 months, you did your first completely hands-off wholesale deal where you didn't see the address, you didn't see the buyer, you didn't see the seller, you didn't even see the transaction until it got wired in, right? Yeah. So, and while you guys are not the majority, it is certainly possible to get that way. And it ends up being a combination of technology and people processes that get people from that solopreneur kind of brute forcing everything to actually having like a clearly defined role besides just doing everything in their business. And that's the magic journey that I am taking people down. And, you know, every business is kind of different when they're coming in, but that's a good overview that I'm sure we can go down a couple tangents on.
And is that how you came up with the idea for the Academy, through your own real estate investing experience? Because now we know you have an awesome course. And we know you have 100 people. How'd you know that there was a need here? You know, like, how'd you come to the conclusion that this needed to exist? Yeah,
so I do have a background in wholesaling. I've done hundreds of deals myself. Mm-hmm. My initial strategy was the REOs back in 2011, 2012, and it was just a REO free-for-all. And then those just dried up, and it forced marketing. And I think the whole started to get good at systems and processes and automation, including me. And that's obsession about creating processes for acquisitions and lead management and lead generation that is kind of the bane of most investors' existence. Is they spend most of their time figuring out how to get leads and figuring out how to manage it and follow up with them. That's like 80% of investors' time right there. Unfortunately, their time should be spent talking with qualified leads and having that up and running. I just got really good at figuring that out. I used tools like Podio, just, you know, no code solutions. I'm not a coder at all. I can think technically, but I use just existing technologies to create a process that anyone can follow. And that eventually turned into InvestorFuse, you know, and the first version was on Podio. Then we realized that Podio kind of sucks. It had a lot of limitations to what we wanted to do, just basic stuff like controlling notifications. You can't really do that on Podio. It's not our technology. So we built our own iteration of the system, you know, with all the processes and strategies that I learned along the way when it comes to outsourcing and systems. And really InvestorFuse 3, which is the newest iteration of the software, is built for teams. Like, it is built with the 80-20 in mind. And so at the core of everything is this philosophy. And what I realized is, besides technology, people also need help with execution in general, right? They need help like outsourcing, recruiting, managing people, setting goals, like maintaining a constant, like measuring scorecards, like time blocking, maintaining their energy levels throughout the day, like all of these, like just habits, right? Because if you don't have these habits locked in, then your technology doesn't mean shit. You're still gonna just burn out and hit this ceiling. And that was kind of what I went all in on. And, you know, I've read hundreds of books on this topic of systemizing and how to run a business. And you see other people that have these big businesses, and you know that the CEO is just kind of like, they make money by thinking, right? And just having conversations with managers. And so I said, how can I bring this? And I learned that because I ran the company InvestorFuse, right? Which has 15 employees, hundreds and hundreds of customers, developers, marketing, sales, funnels, like customer service, customer support, like all this stuff. If I did this all myself, I would never sleep, right? So I just took what I learned building the software company, fed it back to the investors that, you know, are my friends, and also I can talk the talk, and it's the world that I came up in. And that sort of led to, you know what, why don't we just create an inner circle where we just talk about building business, and, you know, ideally with intention and purpose. And that has become the seeds. That was the seeds of the 80-20 Academy. And then recently, I'll just share my whole story. I stepped out of the CEO role in Investor Fuse, the software company, and decided to just become an owner. So now I just own that company, Investor Fuse, which is a crazy move when you hear it put that way, but it's really like what I'm trying to get everybody to get to, right? To the point where you just create an asset, you get it up and running, and then you move on to the next thing that suits your ideal skill set, which for me is coaching, creating new opportunities. I have some other kind of side projects in real estate that I'm working on. That's like my playground. Like I get fueled by that stuff. The day-to-day execution of managing and growing a software company and the day-to-day sales of that, it just isn't like, I don't have the patience for it, right? And I think that I had the awareness to make that step out, and now I can just go all in on the academy, and that's what 2021 is looking like.
Plum, I had a question before you. I think you were about to ask one, but I got one. So you scaled a real estate business previously, and now you've scaled a software company. Which one's more difficult to scale? Software.
Yep.
Why?
Oh man, there's just so many more moving pieces. Like real estate is just, you're talking to sellers and then you're talking to buyers. Like get a house under contract, sell the contract. With investors, you have, or with software, like we have to literally manage the relationship with over 500 companies, and keep them paying us every single month. It's a different business model than the transactional real estate investing, which is inherent. You do 10 deals a month. For us, we have to do 500 plus deals per month. And we have to spend a crap ton on software development, which that just never ends. And we have to prioritize feature sets, and we have to just keep the engine rolling, and we have to bootstrap it. Like we never raised any capital or anything. So we have to manage the finances side of it as well, and bookkeeping. And we just got good at putting people that are really smart in each of those seats. And just tiny improvements over time kind of got us to this point. It certainly was not overnight, but I think that's also key too. Is like if you're signing up for entrepreneurship, you better build some patience and discipline, because it doesn't come quick. It doesn't come easy.
Excellent. I, want to take my hat off to you for lots of reasons, but this idea that you saw a problem with the software platforms out there, and you said, hey, not only can I fix this, but I'm actually going to do it, right? Lots of people have that thought, but then they don't actually take the action, and then continuing to take action in building this thing for years. So can you talk a little bit about making that decision? And then, you had to have some doubt at that point to whether or not you should commit to it or not.
Yeah, all of my business decisions have been a result of validating the idea first by asking for money. And it just started with tiny little, like people would pay me $97 for me to install apps on their Podio account. Just no automation, just like app structures. I would just like copy them and then add them into the workspace in Podio. And I would just sell those for $97, put out YouTube videos. Like 40 people did that. So I was like, all right, maybe I'm onto something here, right? Validation. The market told me something that they want. They exchanged dollars. And then it just sort of snowballed from there. It's just like, okay, all those people that just bought the $97, I wonder if they would want automation installed too. If I just send them a simple email, like, want to turbocharge those apps I gave you. And then for $997, I started selling these done for you kind of Podio setups and automation. And then I sold, 50 or 100 of those. And I was just like, all right, this is a business. Let's turn this into recurring revenue. And, it just sort of snowballs from there. I would have never came into this because at the time it was like FreedomSoft, REI, Blackbook, like just big software companies that have been around for 15 years or so at this point. And I remember I was in the shower thinking like, oh shit, am I actually going to go up against FreedomSoft? Like I've never ran a software company before. I'm just like this nerd that likes to mess around on Podio. And I remember thinking just like, well, maybe if I just don't even worry about competitors and I just focus on the people that are paying me money and like I just build the product for them, then all of a sudden I don't have to worry about competition because these people will pay me because I'm giving them exactly what they want and I have this relationship with them. So I just sort of said, fuck it. Like, I have nothing to lose. I've already validated this. I know that it's a service people need. Let's just go for it. And then, build the wings on the way down, so to speak.
Nice. Another direction I want to go with quick, because I really admire how you've built this. If you seem to have one of the biggest networks in this space, right? Like you seem to be multiple steps ahead of everybody when it comes to understanding all the makers and shakers in the space. Can you talk about some of those strategies you've used to build that network?
Do you guys think I'm introverted or extroverted? Quiz.
I don't know. I feel like you're going to say you're introverted because you phrased the question.
Yeah.
But I feel like you seem pretty comfortable.
I tend
maybe you need to take a nap after this call. So
right.
I'm just playing.
No, I tend to think you're probably introverted, but you have enough awareness to really systematize that outreach to make it work for you. That's my guess.
Okay. Yeah. So, for instance, today, other than my girlfriend, you guys are the only people that I've talked to. I have to be kind of in solitude in order to get good thinking done and energize my creativity. So I think I naturally am inclined to being introverted, but I can hang in an extroverted way because I know how important it is to cultivate these relationships. People introverted, that makes sense. So I can kind of go both ways. I tend towards introverted, and I think that has sort of played to my advantage throughout my career because I'm not a pushy relationship builder. I just sort of want to engage and hang and see how I can contribute. And it stems back to like high school. I think my senior, what do you call it when you're like the most likely? My senior superlative.
Yeah, superlative. There it is.
Was least likely to be labeled, which is weird because I hung out with like every crew and clique. Like I wasn't a member of like a clique. I like hung out with the jocks. I hung out with the nerds. I hung out with the skaters. I hung out with like the music people. And I guess, part of it is just innate ability to just be myself and connect with people. And I think that plays to your advantage when you're in business because people don't only want to work with people that they trust, right? Like you can't be an asshole in business, especially with real estate, where there's so many people that trying to rip you off. That and I think also I came up in the game young, so if you're young, then you have an advantage because people are rooting for you. And I've also been in this for like 10 plus years, so I think I also had time on my side too, where I just sort of connected with a lot of people. Also, once you become a platform provider, like Investor Fuse is a platform, right? It hundreds of companies, some of the biggest companies in the space use us, are my colleagues and customers, and that puts me in a position where I can bring other people in and influence everybody's buying decisions, strategies. So I think that's another hack too, is like build a platform. Like you guys are doing an amazing job of this. Like you're creating your own virtual real estate platform. You got this podcast going. I also have a podcast that just puts you, if you go to a concert and you're on stage, the person on stage is the one that has all the power, right? So if you can figure out how to do that, it definitely has its advantages, but you also that might not be your business goal. Like if you're not trying to grow a coaching business, for instance, like I am, you don't really need to be doing that. You can just like in our 80-20 calls, people talk about like building influence and stuff all the time. And the question you should ask yourself in this social media age is, do you want to be famous or do you want to do deals? Can't do both. Can't be everybody can't be Grant Cardone.
That's an awesome quote. Did you make that up? Did you coin that yourself?
I heard it. I heard it in passing. It was a story from one of my buddies, Tim Francis, told me he got that from a mentor of his. Yeah, because he was obsessing over his social media stats unnecessarily, And his mentor kind of just asked him that, and it just like, he's like, ah, shit, you're right.
Right.
I don't need to be famous.
Yeah, or maybe the fastest path to being famous is doing a ton of deals, just more than everybody else. Right?
Yeah. Show, don't tell.
Yeah, I like that. I had a question that's more macro. Since we're talking about scaling, why do people struggle to scale? Like, what is the barrier in their mind?
Time.
In your opinion?
Time. Everybody only has 24 hours in the day. So you need to figure out, like, your job as an entrepreneur is, how do I continue to generate cash that isn't dependent on my time? Right. So how do I generate cash without having to be on the phones all day? How do I generate cash without having to pull comps all day? How do I generate cash without having to drive for dollars all day long? Comb Craigslist, pull lists, do your bookkeeping, all of these tasks that stack on itself once you get in the game. And that it's just physically impossible to get to a certain level because of time. That's the one common denominator for all entrepreneurs. So the best entrepreneurs are able to separate their income from their time. And how do you do that? Well, obviously shit needs to get done in order to do a deal, right? But it doesn't mean you have to do it, right? There's a series of checklists for things that need to happen to get a real estate deal done. You got to source the property, negotiate the price, get it under contract, exit strategy, project management, cash and just like the 60 things that need to happen. When you're first starting out, it might be all you doing that, but the goal of the entrepreneur is to figure out how to just kind of start whittling away at the things that they hate doing, that they suck at, which is the incompetence zone, and focus more of their energy in that limited time towards the department or the role that actually like they enjoy doing. So that is the main strategy. That should be your strategy, because the difference between like a deal hustler and a business owner is that the deal hustler, man, I had a good train of thought. The deal hustler, each deal is the product for them, versus a business owner, the whole business is the product. They spend most of their time thinking about the business as a whole, versus the deal hustler, they spend bulk of their time thinking about each individual deal and what needs to happen. And it's not for a lack of knowledge. It's just the strategy is misplaced. Like, you got to think about, if you truly want to build wealth and separate your time from your income, you got to think about the business as the product. So you look at it as, I need to have something in place where leads can come in automatically. So that's for you guys, for instance, using text platforms, it's VAs and a texting tool. Boom. Like, all right, you got those. Well, how do you marry those two things together? Well, you need a documentation of how to do that using the technology, the scripts, the logins, everything that another human would have to need to actually execute that. And then you need a scorecard, because you need to basically be able to answer the question, how do I know if X process is working successfully? And what does that look like? And you use KPIs, key performance indicators. Think of it as like a scorecard, right? Number of leads generated today. That's a KPI, like number of total leads generated. A lead in this instance meaning someone that wants to sell their property. And you just measure that number every single day. And your job now, instead of being the person that's like running the texting service, is you're just like reviewing those numbers with the people executing and coaching them to success along that path. You say that we need to get to 15 leads this week. Well, now your job isn't to actually get the leads, it's to coach the person in that process to get the leads. And you use scorecards to do that. And so that is really how you can replace yourself from these things that you hate doing. And if you just start to think about business like that every single day, who can I bring on? What tools can I use? How can we track this? How can I coach them and to make them more successful? If you start thinking more along those lines, you just will start to make more money. It's just that simple, because think about it, right? You're duplicating yourself. You're duplicating your physical capacity to execute stuff like generating leads, like going on appointments, like doing your books, whatever it is. Like if you replace yourself, you free yourself and you continue to generate capital. And like the magic question here is, if you went on vacation for 2 weeks, are you making money? Yes or no? If not, you are not an entrepreneur yet. The entrepreneur's job is to figure out how to set the vision and create a team of people that will execute towards that vision. And that is, that's the difference between the struggling people and those that are able to break it to the next level.
I love that. I think I've seen a lot of people struggle with where do they go first for that first hire, right? Is it a partner? Is it maybe a spouse? Is it one of their best friends that's a hustler? Or is it a virtual assistant? And I know it depends on the situation, but how might you think through that question?
If I have money to invest into my business, I would get a VA to help me lead generate. If I do not have money to generate, I would find myself a business partner. And what business partner should I get? It depends on if you're a visionary or an integrator. If you don't like anything that I've talked about so far, like building processes and executing and like creating the day stuff, just be honest with yourself. If you kind of do like the day-to-day stuff, if you like looking at the spreadsheets, if you like opening up your tech tools and seeing the stats, if you like going in and pulling comps and seeing like how to make the numbers work, you're an integrator and you need a visionary. If you're a visionary, you need an integrator. Read the book Rocket Fuel to understand that dynamic. It's like really, really powerful, but just know that, partnerships are tough. Like you need to set the standards from the get-go. You need to even talk about like how the partnership might end, right? Like you should have that in place on the front end because, at the end of the day, every single partnership, unless you're Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, is going to end, right? So you need to set the terms for that. When things are going well, what's going to happen? How we split up profits. When things don't go well, what happens? How do we, liquidate, et cetera? That's like super important. I know if you're just starting out, that's kind of like crazy talk, but it's super important to just have the conversation and dream a little bit with your partner. And together, you guys can execute your lead gen and your acquisitions. That's pretty much how I would separate it. Have the integrator do the lead generation and then have the visionary do the sales and acquisitions, and then reinvest that first profit deal into hiring a VA and basically helping to free up the integrator's time. That's sort of like the first step. So if you have money to spend, you can jump right to the VA. If you don't have money to spend, get a business partner. The person that likes to do the day-to-day stuff has to figure out lead gen and do it consistently every single day. And then the visionary has to get the deals closed and dispersed to the buyers. And then that once you make that first 10K, 5K, get a VA in place, use a company like Rocket Station VAs so you don't have to learn about how to recruit and manage and personality testing and interviewing and all that. Just skip that. They've already figured that out. Get a VA that can help you or a bird dog to start driving for dollars and a VA to like manage that process. And then you're off to the races. And essentially I would allocate like 50% of your profits, put 50% back into the business until you're doing like 15, 20K per month consistently. Then you can start pulling profits for yourself. And, the rest should be put aside for taxes and stuff. Cause I think a lot of people forget that. Like you should be putting 40, 45% of all of your assignment fees, like in a separate account because you're going to get taxed on that. Or you can reinvest that and just buy real estate, which I know you guys are doing too, but we're kind of going off on another path now.
Yeah, for sure. I think you might have been really far ahead of the curve in the like scale your business, wholesaling, education space. You've been doing this for years. You got over 100 students, but I think at least for me, when I go on my YouTube university searches and I look through Facebook, there's lots of people now talking about scaling real estate companies in like small sects to kind of just disorganize.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen someone try to scale their business too early, or can you try to scale your business too early?
Nice. Great question. Yeah. So I always say, don't systemize too soon. If you don't have money, you need to focus on getting money first. And ideally, you want to self-generate that money. Like I talked to someone the other day that was like looking to get a private loan to do their marketing. I don't know if that's the best decision. Like I wouldn't want to go into more debt if I don't have a proven process to create money. You want to prove the process first. Whether that means you got to go out and drive for dollars for 3 hours a day until you get your first deal. I don't care what it is. Like you're gonna have to hustle if you don't have dollars. So you're gonna have to put in effort. If you're not willing to put in effort or dollars, you're out of business. If you're willing to put in high effort but you have low dollars, then you do stuff like driving for dollars, cold calling, texting, and like web scraping. Just crawling Craigslist every single day. And that becomes your focus, like just self-generating deals. Talk to seller. You don't need to worry about fancy automations. You don't need to worry about hiring. You don't need to really worry about like your 3-year business plan. You don't need to worry about like the only plan should be in 2 hours on the road. And if I do that consistently enough and I actually like measure my progress each and every day in a disciplined, systematic way, now this is called focused hustle, right? Mm-hmm. I'm all about hustle, but don't hustle and just for the sake of being busy all day. Like focus on the shit that's going to bring in opportunities, like the stuff that I just said, and like track it too. So you know that you're like I said before, how do you know if you're successful? Well, you're successful when that lead number goes up every single day. And it's crazy when you get something on a piece of paper in front of you and you look at the number and the truth is staring you at the face, you'll do what it takes to get that number to go up. Like it's as simple as that. It might sound like textbook business advice, but man, the psychological component is uncanny. It's real. So I encourage you guys to deploy focused hustle if you don't have a lot of cash, and don't worry about systemizing your whole business. Just systemize your hustle.
I like it. I like it a lot. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about real estate education. So when we closed our first wholesale deal, it was like a 12 or 14K assignment fee. And we were super excited. But I think we felt like, hey, we want to make sure we can keep this going. So we immediately started looking for the best real estate coach we could find. And we interviewed a couple different people and we landed on the 80/20 Real Estate Academy. And so happy we did, right? But number one, can you answer, Dan, are you a guru? And if so, why or why not? And then can you talk about this space a little bit? Because I think it is kind of an intimidating space. And it's also something where guru can mean something good or something bad. And the idea that some people are charging for this information can also be looked down upon at times as well.
I am not a guru. I'm a connector. Like, I don't seek praise. I just seek results for my students by just connecting them with people, resources, or proven processes, templates, worksheets to make it easy. That's all I do is I just connect people together. So no, I'm not a guru. And I think that, yeah, it's a great question about the landscape, because I'm sure you guys listening to this are getting bombarded with like dozens of emails from different influencers and, webinars getting thrown at you. I'm getting like text messages from 4 different, like Sean Terry messaged me, Tom Kroll messaged me, like somehow I'm on all these people's lists. And all of that, these guys have great value to contribute, but if it isn't towards your immediate urgent project, which should be getting a deal or getting that next hire or getting that next piece, that next CRM updated, whatever it is, like whatever your current project is that you've decided to focus on, everything else is a distraction. And if you are new and you aren't surrounded by people that can tell you something like that, right, and keep you on the rails, then you're going to go off the rails, because no single human has like the self-discipline to like stay on track all by themselves and figure out what to do without avoiding mistakes. So this is a business where mistakes are really expensive. Hiring the wrong person, mad expensive, super time consuming. Getting a property for too high is also a huge mistake. Selling it for too low is a huge mistake. Like, if you can surround yourself with a group of people, and I think that the industry right now is shifting more towards this group hybrid coaching model, where you get, not only do you get a implementation program, like for 80/20 Academy, for instance, we're the content inside of the Academy shows you how to systemize your business. It talks about all of these things like process mapping and documentation and hiring the right way, managing the right way, coaching your employees, communicating with your employees, setting goals. We give you scorecard systems. We give you SOPs, standard operating procedures. We give you like the skeleton for your business. And that's awesome. I think if you can find a coaching program that can provide an implementation you're struggling with, which you're scaling right now, organization structure is probably a huge need for you, then you want to join 80/20 Academy or a program that fits you, so you can get that one specific need solved. And then the group component is really the benefit of this new age that we're in. I think COVID kind of kicked this off even more, like this hybrid. You get the content, and then you get a group of people that you can meet with. For us, we meet twice a week. All of these people are going through the same things that you are. Everybody is all bought into the Academy for the same reason. They want to build a business that serves their ideal lifestyle. And so you also get that, like, you get to normalize what that end path, the end of the rainbow is for you, because there's people in there that are already doing that. This Thursday, we're talking with Shannon O'Neill and Roy, based out of Virginia Beach. They're doing 250K plus per month in one market. And you can hang out with people like that on a twice weekly basis and like just learn about the pitfalls that are ahead in your journey. And that just saves you so much time and energy. Like, I'm about to join a mastermind for masterminds, actually. So I can just avoid the learning curve for how to scale this mastermind up, because there's 100 people in it now. It's a different animal than it was like when you guys signed up. Mm-hmm. So I'm a big advocate for the group hybrid coaching model. Anyone that's selling their individual time, like, for all the reasons I said before, they're gonna burn out, right? Like, so I would actually be cautious of people that are selling like personal coaching, because it's not scalable. And if people are doing things that aren't scalable, I don't trust them as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, or how you scale your business.
Yeah, exactly.
I like the group thing you touched on. It's also like entrepreneurship is a lonely place, you know?
Yeah.
Like, psychologically, there's definitely a benefit to being in a room with people doing similar things, because
that's so true.
I imagine when we first started hiring our virtual assistants and scaling our company, and Adam and Carlo, our first hires, we probably thought, we don't know what we're doing. Do they think we're idiots? Like, let's go talk to the people in the 80/20 group and make sure our azimuth is straight. Like some of that goes through your mind when you're building a company. Like, do I know what I'm doing? And I think being part of that group does help.
Yep, 100%.
So, what are the next steps with the Academy? What if you went from 0 to 100 in 2020, what are some of the goals you've got going forward for the Academy?
Yeah, so the goals I have are to get to 200 companies, because the inherent value of the community is going to increase as those numbers come up. And I also want to create a more results-driven approach to the implementation, to the systemization approach. Because right now it's DIY with the help of the community that you can come onto. And I want to kind of dissect that process a little bit and kind of whittle it down to like, what is the 80-20 of 80-20 in your business? Like get it right down to kind of like I said on this call, like that path where like, if you don't have money and if you're willing to put in effort, like do this. If you have some money and you're willing to invest it, then do this. Like choose your own adventure style implementation. And I also want to make it time bound, because right now it's just you sign up and you can do it at your own pace. I think that putting a 90-day sprint and having 90-day cohorts might be the next step. So I can actually like bring people in and say, okay, you're working X amount of hours, you're averaging this amount per month. Your goal is to work 30 hours a week on these specific things that you love doing, and you want to generate 45K per month. All right, let's map out the exact things that you need to do that. And then I, as like me and maybe coaches, hold them accountable to get to that. And then I can like measurably show their progress towards that in a 90-day period. And then after that, they'll pay a monthly membership to keep inside of the group. I think that's sort of where things are headed, because this year I just want results for people, and getting people out of their own way is kind of the next, like I say it all the time, like I can only take you to the water. Like you got to drink the water. And unfortunately, a lot of people just stop showing up to Q&A calls, you know, and just sort of stopped watching the videos. Like they literally have everything that they need at their fingertips to scale successfully. And yet there's something missing mentally, accountability. The why isn't big enough. Maybe their vision isn't clear enough. Like all of these factors remove. That is sort of the next step, and just it's more of a mindset and psychological shift, as well as a kind of a business model shift that I'm going to be making. And that is what it looks like for me. It's kind of a vague answer. It's going to take some thinking, but that's how I get paid.
Nice. I was going to wrap it up and ask for the contact information, but one thing you touched there that I do want to bring up is there's some real estate investors that seem to jump from course to course, mastermind to mastermind, always thinking they kind of need more education. And to your point of like, hey, you can take him to water, but you can't make him drink it. So as an educator, do you spend time trying to get those people to actually drink it? Do you write them off and just try to find the right people? And I know that's a double-edged sword, but how do you think about that?
I only want to help the people that want to be helped. It just makes my job easier, and shakes out the tire kickers. So I'm done. I like in the early days, I remember when I first got in the game and I first started doing my first couple deals, I like naturally wanted to share it, like kind of just exactly like you guys did. I just like naturally wanted to share, like, guys, did you know that there's like, you can like go sign this piece of paper and then sign another piece of paper and make 25 grand. Like, do you know you could do this and that you don't need to go to school? Like, you don't need to go to school. You can just do this as a human in society, and it's money. Like, I remember just like, why isn't anyone else talking about this? I just felt this natural pull, just like, guys, you can make, but you don't need to go to college.
The water's
you don't need to get a job. Like, you can do this and then make an unlimited amount of money. That was just like, I was just naturally doing that. What was the question?
I think you answered it. Ultimately was, what do you do with the people that can't be helped? And I think to summarize your answer is you're like, hey, you wish them the best, but you're ready for the people that are ready to rock, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like the show don't tell. I know that's another thing. Like this year, I want to be executing everything that I'm sharing. Like that's why I'm doing 75 hard, right? Like 75 hard is John's doing his own version of it, where it's just like every single day for 75 days straight, can you do something that is going to like progress you forward health-wise, financially, and intellectually? And if you mess up, go back. You've got to go back to day one. Like, are you willing to do this? And can that translate back into your real estate investing business, into your relationships, into every facet of your life? And if you show and not just talk all the time. You know, and live out loud, as my mentor Dan Martell says. He likes to shine his light and live out loud, which in his case is just, you know, constantly sharing what he's doing, results on the internet, living out loud. Then you'll be able to attract the people that will naturally just want to work with you. And you don't need to sell them on entrepreneurship. You don't need to sell them on real estate investing. You don't need to sell them on your unique way of doing things, because it's just like, I just did it. If other people want to do it too, hop on board. Like, happen. Don't try to force it in the world of education. And that would be my tip on that.
Excellent. I have a feeling that you may be one of those types of people that we bring back over and over again. So thanks for a great conversation, Dan.
Yes.
How can people get in touch with you? How can they sign up for the Academy to help take their real estate game to the next level?
Go to book8020call.com. You'll see a bunch of testimonials. You'll see a link to a survey. Fill out that survey, book a call with me. We'll talk for 45 minutes just to see if I can help you. And then we'll get you signed up if you're ready to roll. So just go to book8020call.com and you'll get on my calendar. That's actually going to be me. It's not, I don't have like a sales person that's going to be doing these calls or anything. We're just going to have a loose conversation about where you're stuck, what you need to do to get to the next level, and if my program would be a fit for you. So.
Excellent. Well, we really appreciate it. Frank, you got any final words?
No, I'm just happy that Dan was able to come, and super pumped to have him on. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan.